Ladies and gentlemen, Agnieszka Justitia, the first of Honestia, the royal speech. Our times. It is a great pleasure to address you again with the third part of my royal speech composed at the time when the world we used to know is being consumed by a new pestilence. Obviously, we are not being told the truth. If anyone of the people involved does know the truth. In the previous parts, I explained to you the thinking behind my Honestian Academy and its spirit. I have always believed my noble queendom, originally called Agnipolitania, after the name of the capital Agnipolis, created by me from my name, Agnieszka, and the creative suffix polis, carrying the references to the Roman, Greek, and Sanskrit significances, currently called Honestia, the primary reference being honesty, of course. I have always believed my noble queendom has been a peace offer to humankind. The offer I had been rewarded with due to my noble life. Sadly and atrociously, the offer was rejected by the ignoble humankind, and I have been under heavy attack from the ignoble, actually a siege. The development of the speech is consistent with the spirit and thinking of the Academy. As I recently said or wrote, one of the most dangerous social roles nowadays was that of a philosopher. Had it always been so? I do not know. I have entered the field professionally by starting my studies in philosophy at the Pontifical University of John Paul II last year, even if I resigned soon after the beginning of the academic year. The challenge we philosophers face nowadays is not the pestilence, it is transhumanism. My personal research, which I do call an investigation, shows the philosophy as the key factor behind the crime against humanity we have been living in since the 19th century, to my judgment. Especially if we agree that crimes start with a criminal intent, a thought. Thus we start with the realm of ideas, Mary Shelley, Friedrich Nietzsche, Johann Wolfgang Goethe. No doubt Mary Shelley was a person of a great mind, if she was Percy Bysshe Shelley's wife. I reject all implications of her writings being directed by her husband. He would have made them his own. No lack of courage in the man with the social role of the romantic poet. She creates a new reality, a potential. It has been pointed out that many or most scientific developments had been preceded by science fiction, a hair-raising idea if we consider what has been written. In the new reality, the man becomes a creator, and the creature created his creation. The obvious must be stated simply. because it is the key postulate in science. And once it becomes a real task, reality changes. Not God the Creator, man the Creator. Not a human being as an image of God, a creature as an image of man. Which breaks the order of God. Of course, I am talking about Not a Big Deal, just a novel. The title is Frankenstein. In the context of the Not a Big Deal, but a novel, Nietzsche's philosophy of the Übermensch and Goethe's drama of Faustus, both being big deals, become specifications added once the essence is pure and clear to see. Shelley changed a man into God. Perhaps she was being tempted by Satan, so she made a comprehensive note on the subject in the novel form. Another essential change comes with what I decided to call pre-communism rather than communism. Taking this historical perspective already today, sensing the developments and horrors to come. The icons are Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, and Adolf Hitler. No mistake, Adolf Hitler. I have been pointing it out for a long time. For some, probably quite fishy, reason, we have been being educated to believe National Socialism was a right wing. It is in the name, or is it not? I sum this up as the philosophy of three no's. No spirit, no God, no individuality. Naturally, the reality ought to be juxtaposed with the biblical world we, Europeans, and you, so much of the world, have been living in, which is the world of the spirit, of God, of individuality. These are platitudes again, but once again they need to be stated clearly. Man used to be God's creation from the Spirit of God, like God. Man had the free will, even if not the quality, the omnipresence, the omnipotence, the omniscience. The man was God's image. In the biblical Garden of Eden, there were two outstanding trees we learn about from the accounts received at our time: the tree of knowledge and the tree of immortality. It was forbidden to reach for the fruit of the tree of knowledge. But he and she did. And they knew the good and the evil, for which they were punished with the banishment from the paradise for the innocent, not knowing, immortal. One of the reasons was ensuring they would not reach for the fruit of the tree of immortality then, knowing the good and the evil. Incidentally, putting it this way opens the field of considerations concerning guilt and innocence. Can a person not knowing the good and the evil be guilty? The post-Edenic time proves the man of free will evil and sinful. Ages pass, and finally Christians receive a redemption, for God sends his Son, Jesus, to be born as a man. There are unexploited, so to say, undertones to the birth. The many children killed in the hunt for their child. The obvious evil accompanying the arrival of what was to be infinite good and redeemed. For our purposes, a note must be made concerning parents and species. Jesus has a mother and a stepfather. He has a family. The world created by God is filled with unique species. Christ's significance has two dimensions, one pertaining to the past and one pertaining to the future. This is how I would tend to view it now. The first dimension is the sins cleansed or cleansed. They are not to happen again. The second dimension is the God's kingdom on earth. It is to be created, to come through the development of Christian life in agreement with the God's presence on earth's teaching. Around 2000 years later, Christians and humankind can be called to answer, what have you done? Around the 2000 years later, we become aware of the new reality aspired to by the humankind of our times, of which transhumanism is but an expression. God endowed people with the free will. The man of today wants to be perfect and immortal, apart from feeling great, which is a rejection of the God's verdict of toil, pain, and suffering, besides death. It needs to be noted, where transhumanism is after super or supra-intelligence, and super or supra-well-being, it is already traveling, perhaps in the parallel lane, towards immortality as a physical being. The spiritual immortality had been granted by God. In a sense, we could speak of a return to paradise if it were not for the abyss between the two visions and no presence of God, replaced by new elites. Have we made them gods by praying to the images for so long, breaking the second commandment? Perhaps. The second commandment says, "You shall not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth, You shall not bow down to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children, to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. Puzzling, isn't it? And sounds mad from the perspective of today. Think of all the arts inspired by God, the divine sculpture, painting, crafts, attention. We enter the area of the ontological shift. Finally, science and the new reality. Clones on the one hand, the transhuman on the other. A transhuman being is a product, a tradable one. Let me outline the most important aspects here. I shall include my notes from a conference I went to in early summer 2019 after the speech. It is a high-quality product of top performance. Its efficiency is controlled on a daily basis. All underperformance is remedied immediately. The expected output is 500%. The product has a transhuman potential achieved through enhancement that, broadly speaking, falls into two categories talked about: supplements and genetics. The third category is other beings, originally human, and machines. That would be the fifth category, I believe. The supplements are provided mainly by neuropharmacy and artificial intelligence. Drugs counteracting non-optimum operation, antidepressants, utopian drugs, no matter what, as long as it improves the product. Stimulation of brain or mind activity from exterior intelligence bearers, I decided to call them bearers, external storage of memory quoted as expert systems, decision-making systems, agent systems, aggregates, huge amounts of data, intrusive and non-intrusive, neuroimplants and mind transfers, genetic engineering, introduction of genes and reduction of genes, presupposed selection of genes, other implants. To use a simple language, a transhuman is a combination of the human, the animal, the extraterrestrial, the machine, and the artificial intelligence, with possible enhancements that have not entered my mind yet. It has no identity really, no uniqueness from conception till death, if death ever happens. For it lives in a constant change of improvement by other identities. Its identity is a combination of the constituent parts. For the moral, godly, this vision is a horror enough. What horror do we face and need to accommodate for in our minds, hearts, and whatever is left of our spiritual life, if we start realizing how we, the humankind, have arrived here? all mass production, even if it concerns the elite numbers, implies research and development. One day someone decided to produce a man, and they did. Then they decided the man ought to be perfect. Two lines of the development. What does it mean to be perfect? That is the area of philosophy. What do we do to produce the perfect man? At this point it is important to accent the ontological change that had taken place. The man had become an invention. Research and development require long hours of work and numerous experiments in laboratories. The material the scientists were working on had to be human. They were producing a perfect man. Suddenly, what surfaced in my awareness were concentration camps. A lot of material. Jews represented high quality, top quality impact. Review of the Holocaust. Of course, there are prisons and hospitals, including the CIA prisons. Still, that material does not really meet the requirements of the perfect man, does it? Probably from time to time they would log top quality material too. They would log in top quality material too. All documentation of cases provided by the cooperative state organs, which is how we know Poles did take part in the other Holocaust. So they did take part in the Holocaust, as we have learned about it as well. Along the experimental material at hand, a lot of data of other nature needs to be collected. After all, life has so many dynamics. I believe today we can assume such was the role of the Church of Scientology. Thousands of cases described in detail. Less artistic than world literature, but far more varied, detailed, comprehensive, and so intimate. Before they erected the American National Security Agency for digital data, they had erected the Church of Scientology for all sorts of things. What an oddity. As an aside, a clown, a fool, could say, and the people paid for it, rather than God. God gracious. Top professional personality engineering, when the time comes. A huge array of far more than costumes to wear. There came time for philosophers. After all, there was a special order. Create the new reality and make it real, appealing. The Hollywood was a pioneer, I guess. Somewhere next to us, as we were living our lives, watching science fiction now and again, feeling weird at times, the world has changed. The man in the street has become a possible donor, the required quality, the man to be disposed of when no longer needed. The child at school, a prospective sample. Samples were necessary for the initial experiments and the controlling experiments. Such a change requires more than a theory. It requires certainty, backed by millions of cases. The child, now grown up perhaps, to be disposed of when no longer needed. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe it is high time to blow the whistle and raise the red card. With so many problems we had been facing on a daily basis, someone put in the center the artificial problem of making a perfect man. The initial research served the purpose of identification of all valid variables and was followed with initial experiments that led to a formulation of theoretical hypotheses requiring further experimentation, I believe. One day, they must have been celebrating a great victory. The theory was ready. They started applying it, ruining life after life, with the individual's consent or without it, if necessary, against it. Perhaps they had paid the poor man at the start, before they became that arrogant. Errors surfacing resulted in corrections. Finally, they were ready for the technology. Their new baby. Not all were delighted. Oh, well. The elites have been replaced. I guess we are at the social acceptance stage. Will you agree? Agnieszka Justitia, the first of Honestia, the noble queen, the guardianess of truth and justice, the protectress of the pure value. Agni Polis, the 19th of March 2020. And as you look at my mouth, it says a trans-species, trans-taxon. So this is actually the end of the traditional taxonomy.